thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I'm Tian Wong with CONNECTpreneur, and how many of you guys have been here before to the Cary Business School? Not enough. Jill, we have to do something about that. Come on. Well, we have a great program today. We have a number of updates. We have some VIP speakers, and we have an investor panel, as well as a slate of 9 awesome presenting companies. I'd like to thank our partners in the program book. We have a partner page, so I want to read them out, and they are the ones that make this event possible. We have Johns Hopkins Cary Business School, Next powered by Schulman Rogers, TEDCO, we're going to hear an update on TEDCO, Buzzy Rocket, the Unicorn Team, MTech, Schulman Rogers, Entrepreneurs Organization, the Maryland Tech Council, we'll be hearing from their CEO very soon, Kelly, Startup Grind, Cybersecurity Association, BioBuzz, we're going to hear from Chris Frew today as well about workforce here, Keiretsu Forum, the Founder Institute, Blue Venture Investors, the Chicago Archangels, Citrine Angels, the Dingman Angels, MIT Alumni Angels. Why don't we have a Hopkins Angels? We need that. Oh, okay. Well, we got to get you guys here. Jumpstart New Jersey Angel Network, Enterprise Transformation Solutions, the Monty Jade Science and Technology Association, FITCI, Georgetown Entrepreneurship, Ryan and Wetmore, Center for Advancing Innovation, Kobe, USIDC, and the annual Wharton DC Innovation Summit. Let's give it up for all of our great sponsors. I also want to direct you to the photo of these very handsome and good-looking people. We have a great host committee. I want to thank all of you who are on our host committee. We have a great prep team. I want to thank everybody who's helped our presenting companies. And the QR code sheet in the back here has a bunch of QR codes, including a list of all the RSVPs for today. And for those of you who are going to be in San Fran for JP Morgan Week, we have a great investor brunch on Sunday. And we also have events coming up in Tyson's Corner on December 16th, as well as UMBC in Baltimore on February 5th. So thank you guys for joining. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who is Jill Green, the Senior Associate Dean for Student Experience and Strategic Initiatives here at the Johns Hopkins Cary Business School. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Tian. I guess I have homework already. I have 2 tasks from this. I have to get more people here more regularly and an angel investing, Hopkins Angels. So whoever wants to volunteer for that, let me know afterward. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Johns Hopkins Cary Business School. It is our absolute pleasure to be hosting here this morning, and thrilled really to see such an impressive gathering of investors, founders, business leaders here with us today. And on behalf of the entire Cary community, I want to extend our thanks to Tian Wong and his team for allowing us to host, and really for the incredible partnership. Bringing the Big Idea Forum to our campus is exciting and a great way for us to showcase, of course, this gorgeous view and all the wonderful talent we have in the building. Looking around this room, we see exactly the kind of energy and expertise that makes our innovation ecosystem here in Baltimore and across the region so dynamic. Seasoned investors, bold entrepreneurs, community leaders, all coming together to really move ideas forward. At Cary, entrepreneurship is not confined to the classroom. We are really shaping and preparing our students to become catalysts, whether as founders, consultants, or strategic advisors. We want them out there supporting your work and their work. Through our partnership with Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures, we create powerful pathways for innovation that expand across the university and our community. Baltimore is a place where big ideas become real businesses, and we're proud to play our part in this story. We're honored truly to work alongside our partners and to be a force for economic growth and innovation in Baltimore and the region. This morning, as you heard, you'll hear from some outstanding companies and distinguished speakers, and you'll connect with people in this room who are really shaping the future of business in Maryland and beyond. With that, I just want to say enjoy the day, make great and genuine connections, and continue your impact. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Jill. I also want to thank, where's Sean? Sean Green with MTech. For those of you lucky enough to have received a package of this tremendous stuff, is Sean around? Okay, we got to find, oh, there he is. Okay, Sean, raise your hand. So any questions on this package, please talk to Sean about it. Thank you for sharing with us, by the way. I'd like to bring up Ricardo Ben, who is the Deputy Secretary of Commerce for the Maryland Department of Commerce. As many of you know, Commerce has been a real leader in healthcare and aerospace and quantum and other types of key industries here in the state of Maryland. Mr. Deputy Secretary, thank you for your support.
Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here at CONNECTpreneur. Thank you, Tien, for the invitation. This is really a forum where innovators, investors, founders come together to shape the economic future of our region. And every year, this event gives us a glimpse into where technology is going. And this year, I'm proud to say that Maryland isn't just participating in the future, we're helping define it. As Tien mentioned, my name is Ricardo Ben, Deputy Secretary with the Maryland Department of Commerce. And on behalf of the Moore Miller administration, it's really a pleasure to be with you this morning. Over the past year, we've seen some major wins across what we call our lighthouse sectors. These are computational health, aerospace and defense, and quantum technology. And where Maryland is really recognized globally as a leading hub. These wins that I'm going to talk about today aren't accidental. Maryland has something that's rare. We have a density of assets most regions dream of. Elite universities, thank you again to Johns Hopkins Carey Business School for hosting us today. The nation's highest concentration of federal labs, world-class talent, and a business community that builds boldly. One of the biggest highlights of this year was the launch of the Capital of Quantum initiative. This announcement has already announced some pretty major private sector commitments, including a few weeks ago, a significant expansion from Microsoft and deeper engagement with DARPA. Maryland is no longer talking about quantum. We're actually operationalizing it. At the same time, Maryland companies are pushing boundaries on autonomous drones, next generation position navigation and timing systems, maritime navigation, robotics, advanced manufacturing. These are technologies that will shape how people, goods, and information moves across the world. And in computational health, where we have more than 2,700 life sciences companies, we have unparalleled federal assets that are driving breakthroughs in AI-powered diagnostics, digital health, and therapeutic development. Across all of this, one theme is clear. Maryland is turning world-class research into world-class companies. So we have a vision for the years ahead. As we look forward, our mission is direct and ambitious. We want Maryland to be the best place in the country to start, scale, and invest in high-growth companies. To achieve that, we're focusing on 3 priorities. One, we're really razor-sharp focused on driving more capital into Maryland. We know that capital is the fuel of innovation, and so that's why we've expanded our engagement with the appointment of 2 new roles within the Department of Commerce. One, Director of Domestic Investment and the Director of Foreign Direct Investment. And through those relationships, we are expanding our engagement with venture capital firms, with private capital, and strengthening our international outreach to attract foreign direct investment into the state. Earlier this year, Commerce had the privilege of hosting a private capital company in Annapolis, where we were able to bring deep tech and national security investors directly into Annapolis. Their message to us was clear. Maryland has the talent, we have the proximity and the capability, and investors want more deal flow from the region. So we're taking careful notes and looking at ways in which we can accelerate that. Over the past 2.5 years, Maryland has secured more than $4 billion in private investment and driven nearly 100,000 new jobs. The world is noticing our efforts, not because of potential, but because of performance. Number two, we're accelerating tech transfer and commercialization. Maryland produces some of the most advanced scientific research in the world, and our next chapter as a state is really about turning those breakthroughs into Maryland-based companies. We're expanding support for tech transfer, university spin-outs, commercialization in quantum, AI, biotech, aerospace, and advanced materials. Ideas shouldn't stop at the lab, they should launch companies, and that's what we're razor sharp focused on. The third item that we're focused on is creating an environment where innovators can scale. We're strengthening our talent pipelines by working with our partners within the state. We're building advanced manufacturing capability through programs like the RAMP MD program within the Maryland Department of Commerce, and expanding our export programs that help Maryland companies reach international markets. Our international trade teams are taking Maryland startups with us around the world, from Hanover to Hyderabad to London. In fact, Secretary Coker today is on a trade mission to Canada, and earlier this year, he had supported a trade mission to Japan and South Korea, and later on this year, we have some other efforts. And that's because telling Maryland's story abroad is a growth strategy for us as a state. The future, we believe, belongs to those regions that learn fast, move fast, and build across sectors. Maryland is one of the few places where we have the right combination of federal capability, private innovation, academic excellence, and a global workforce that all live in one ecosystem. And we believe what truly sets us apart in this community is all of you, the entrepreneurs, investors, problem solvers, and builders that are right here in this room. You make Maryland competitive, you make Maryland global, and you make Maryland impossible to ignore. And as we look forward to the next decade, we want to place a big bet on ourselves. We know that Maryland has the talent, the ideas, and the momentum to lead, not just nationally, but globally. So in closing, I'd really, again, like to thank our host for the opportunity to share a little bit about what we have going on within Maryland and why we're so excited about what the future brings. So thank you again for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Secretary, and thank you for your continued leadership. It's phenomenal. Maryland's open for business, and it's just great to see everything that we're leading with. Next up, I'd like to introduce Commander Christopher Steele, who's the Chief of Strategy and Business Development at the Medical Technology Enterprise Consortium, MTech. And I'm going to apologize in advance because our program book has a description of someone else, but the electronic program book, which is downloadable right now, is corrected. But thank you for your support, Commander.
Thanks. Thank you. It's a great meeting, and Tian, thanks again for being a good friend and colleague. Just retired military about a year ago. You say just retired, it's at some point those years kind of continue to be longer. So maybe not just last year, but I ran R&D programs for about 12 years in DoD across a lot of programs. And so one of the things that was most frustrating is how do you really engage with teams? And so if you haven't noticed, the government is a little bit changing, and so then actually the ability to travel and kind of look for new opportunities is a little bit clumsy. So MTech is a company that was directed to be built by the government about 9 years ago. It is a community-based company, so a consortium of about 750 companies and academics right now. Membership model. Helps the government PMs. So we kind of serve three purposes or three groups. One is the government PM, helping them put things on contract quicker, helping them to engage in more directly back and forth discussions about what the tool is currently being designed for and how it can support both dual use military and civilian applications. We've done about $1.4 billion of DoD funding in that timeline. 90% is the government putting money on contract, but literally getting them in front of your teams or your tools or your groups that are really trying to engage them. MTech is not the only funder in DoD, but what we really try to do is help our companies really understand the color of the organization that's trying to fund something, and then the program manager, how do they get in front of them to dispel any myths so that that review that happens will be a positive one, or at least an informed one. So with that, we work with a lot of government PMs, about 15 different shops across the DoD right now for anything that touches medical. So we're called the Medical Technology Enterprise Consortium. That's really a DoD enterprise world of something that's point of injury and all the way back to definitive care. So the military has about 9 million beneficiaries in its healthcare system. Only 1 million are active duty, so retirees and veterans can still get their care outside of the VA, but inside the DoD. So it's a large healthcare system if you're not tracking. And then we do a lot of partnerships with the VA for their subjects, so to speak. So with that, we have a couple companies presenting today. Hopefully you'll enjoy seeing them. But outside of the government PM, helping our companies really understand where the government has been moving to, sometimes rapidly, is a never-ending challenge. The third group that we really work with, though, is really outside investment commercialization steps. So Sean Green, Sean, you're still here? Do you want to say a couple words about kind of what we're doing right now with IP licensing and other aspects of commercialization?
Despite the political and economic climate right now, MTech's been enormously successful. We look forward to another decade with the U.S. Army. A couple quick thoughts. We've expanded our mission, not just to keep the trooper in the fight, but to be sure these innovative ideas spill over to the private sector. And it's very important to us and to the taxpayer that these innovative companies have an impact to you and I. And so that's a big focus, and that is the focus on dual use. Second thing, we're expanding and to such a point that we see later this year creating an independent standalone fund made up of a number of family offices and PE firms. They look at the MTech as a very rich deal flow model. And so more to come Q3 of this year. We're delighted. We think of the MTech on one end of the bookend, and that is the non-dilutive dollars with a focus on prototype with an eye towards productization. And at the other end of the bookend, it would be a shame to invest these non-dilutive dollars in these innovative companies if we don't bring the private sector on board too. And so we're going to have the other bookend, and that is, again, a standalone fund that we'll announce in Q3 of this next year. And it's independent and stands outside of the MTech. In terms of tools, we've changed our whole mission focus as it relates to our members. We're a very member-centric entity. The better we focus on our members and enrich those members, the better we serve the military. And so there's been a big transformation this past year in terms of a member-centric, and our growth is extraordinary. The numbers this next year on our current trajectory will be in the thousands, and we're delighted. Helps in teaming, collaboration, funding, and advancing these innovative companies. In terms of tools for that Chris alluded to, we have found under our OTA that IP is very important to the government. IP is important to us innovators that hold these companies. And so we're putting together a whole toolbox in terms of accelerating, vetting, assessing IP that we're going to be rolling out here in Q1. So I welcome all future members and our current members to leverage us. Use the MTech to advance and complement your legal body that focuses on patents and the creation of invention disclosures, the assessment, even to the point of being a facilitator in finding homes for this IP. So that's going to be a big push too in Q1. So that gives a snapshot of where we are, where we're going, and we welcome you to join MTech. So thanks, Chris. Nice job.
Yeah. So with that, we have about 192 active investments. Average funding is about 6.2 million. We don't take equity in the company. We're just trying to help partnerships occur. So I'd love to talk to you more about how MTech works and what we're interested in doing. So thanks again for your time and your invite, Tien, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Next, I'd like to invite up Kelly Schultz, CEO of the Maryland Tech Council and former Secretary of Commerce for Maryland. She's going to give us an update on the great things that the Maryland Tech Council is doing. Kelly.
Well, that was nice. Thank you. Good morning. That just makes up for the really long drive from Frederick today, and 70 is getting worse and worse every single day. So good morning to all of you. Tien, thank you so much for having me back. And it's so nice to be here to start off the morning because it's super important. So for those of you that don't know about the Maryland Tech Council, I'm just going to give you a very brief understanding of who we are and what we do. We are the largest association that represents the sectors of life science and technology in general. I like to say we're technology agnostic. We work very closely with our members to be able to make sure that we provide resources, networking opportunities, introductions, advocacy, for the sole purpose of creating the best ecosystem in the nation to be able to grow and prosper here in Maryland. Sometimes we've got headwinds, right? And so sometimes we need people, we need a larger, louder voice in order to be able to get our clear message moving forward. We have about 900 members now across the state. I'm so excited about that. We do have a few chapters. We have a chapter here in Baltimore. We have a chapter in the Chesapeake region. Jim Gibbons, raise your hand. He's our co-chair, our volunteer extraordinaire for the Chesapeake Regional Chapter. We're also expanding into some of the rural parts of Maryland because I take the idea of the Maryland Tech Council very seriously. So we now have a rural tech network that is established in Western Maryland, the 3 counties out west, and all of the Eastern Shore. I spent the day in Salisbury yesterday and then last week in Easton. So really trying to understand what those innovative ideas are in different parts of the state. On the Eastern Shore, for example, you're going to have a lot of environmental sciences and ag tech. Western Maryland, just for example, you're going to have a great deal of cybersecurity in different types of arenas, especially around cyber relating to what's happening in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, unfortunately, but there's a lot of companies popping up being able to do that kinds of stuff. So the Maryland Tech Council has been around for 40 years. If you are a member, and I've seen some of our friends from accelerators and incubators here, if you are a member of one of those incubators or accelerators, guess what? You might not know it, but you are automatically a member of the Maryland Tech Council. Congratulations. You are a courtesy member for the period of time that you reside in that incubated and that accelerated space, because we feel very strongly about being able to nurture those companies that are here in Maryland and wanting to grow and expand them where we are at right now. So updates, Tian. We've had a phenomenal year, right? We are in a growth pattern. Everything is really great moving forward. I mentioned some of the areas in which we are growing as far as geography is concerned. Let's talk just a tiny, tiny bit about the programming that we have. Let's talk data centers. All right, I'm not going to give you a lot of conversation about data centers because I could talk for hours, but data centers is a big topic of innovation and growth here in the state of Maryland. So this year at the Maryland Tech Council, we formed an organization. It's called the Data Center Alliance. By the way, it is the first association-run data center alliance in the country. Congratulations to all of you for being a part of Maryland, because that's a big deal, right? And we're doing this in order to be able to educate and advocate for a new industry sector coming to Maryland that is going to create a lot of revenue, number one, a lot of jobs, number two, and community activity. And so I'm really excited about this. If anybody's interested in having this conversation, let me know, because I talk about it all day, every day. Our steering committee is formed. We have really great subject matter experts. For you all in this room, it's really important to understand the myths, and it's more important to understand how to bust those myths, right? And so that is the purpose of us being able to make sure that this new industry, that is one of the only industries that's knocking on our doors right now to be able to come in and innovate and grow and prosper in the state of Maryland, create new jobs. We're here to help to support that. The other big news is that I was here last year and we had just cut the ribbon on our BioHub Maryland training facility. It's our workforce development program. We are 1 year and a month into that operation. We have trained well over 300 individuals at our BioHub training facility in Rockville, Maryland. So excited about that. being able to fulfill the gap of that entry level going into the life science community, being able to give people a career in life sciences that never even knew that a career in a life science could exist. And that is just a high school diploma that's needed for that. Somebody told me a pulse and a high school diploma, that's all you need to get in, and that's actually true. We have tons of partners, some of them in this room today, but we're really excited about moving that process and continue to move it forward. If you have not visited our facility in Rockville, we are on Medical Center Drive, which is right across from all of our partners and right next door. Come in for a tour. You'll be able to see some of the great equipment we've been able to procure and bring in to be able to develop the pharmaceutical manufacturing facility here in Maryland. And then is anybody here actually a member of the Maryland Tech Council? I hate to ask that question. Thank you very much, members of the Maryland Tech Council. If you're not, you should know that there is a cost savings program for you. It's called the MTC Edge. And we partnered with Massachusetts Bio Organization to provide the best prices for Fisher scientific products that are out there. It more than pays for anything that you're doing out there in the cost savings, free transportation, the whole deal. Would love to talk to you about that. And many of our partners and members in the room know just how significant that can be. All right, so we talked very briefly, Tian, I'm just gonna say headwinds. Legislative session is coming up. Is there anybody in this room that's excited about the legislative session happening starting in January? No, me neither, but it's coming. It's coming to us, and it's going to be here for 90 days, whether we want it to be here or not. And there's some really important topics that we have to talk about as an industry. So whether you are a life science member or a tech member, you have to know that there is a deficit upon us. Last year, they looked to our industries to be able to fulfill their gap in that deficit. I will just say for the record, very opposed to the tech tax, and we will continue to talk about what that means to the state of Maryland and our ecosystem here. But we also want to be able to create a larger and a louder voice. Reach out to us. We have a wonderful grassroots opportunity and efforts in order to be able to talk to legislators and policymakers about those impacts that those types of decisions have on us here. Again, there are a few industries, and I agree 100% with Governor Moore, there are a few industries that are going to help to be able to get us out of our deficit status. Those are his lighthouse industries that he talks about. It's life sciences, it's quantum, it's aerospace, and all of those technology industries and sectors in the middle of all of those. Let's do everything that we can collectively in order to be able to create that louder voice, in order to be able to create legislation and policy decisions that are going to impact all of us in a positive way. Because at the end of the day, innovation is the way to grow. That growth is out. It's going to lead us out of where we are right now. And so I'm very grateful, Tian, for being here. If you don't know, you can go to mdtechcouncil.com and find out all this information, or you can see me afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelly. Hopefully we'll pick up a couple dozen new members. Next up, we have TEDCO. Catherine Hill-Ritchie, who is the Senior Director of Venture Funds at TEDCO, will give a brief update. TEDCO, as most of you know, is for sure the most prolific investor in Maryland, if not the whole Mid-Atlantic area. And they've just done a great job, as you guys know, with the biotech winter and just the funding winter in general. We need groups like TEDCO to help early stage companies, and thank you for all of your support. But we'd love to get an update on some of your initiatives, Catherine.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here, everybody. I see so many faces that I recognize and many companies I've invested in. Most of you already know TEDCO, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but we have a lot of exciting announcements. But first, let's just go on a high level again. So TEDCO is a very complicated entity. We've got more programs than even us as employees can remember that we're doing, and we're launching new initiatives all the time. So my team is on the investment team. So we have a dual purpose at TEDCO. We do invest dilutive capital, but we have also a huge part of TEDCO that is grants and programs. So we are dual purposed in economic development, but also we are looking to get our money back and earn money for the state. So TEDCO's been around 27 years, and there are 3 portfolios in the investable side, which is pre-seed, seed, and venture, which I'm head of venture. My colleague Teddy is somewhere who does seed. He'll be speaking later, he's in the back. And then my colleague Jean-Luc runs the social impact pre-seed portfolio. So we split it up that way for a couple of reasons, because we want to be able to invest broadly in different stages of companies. So pre-seed obviously is extremely early. Well, that's the hardest capital to get, right? So we as a state entity want to encourage those entrepreneurs. And we have a new program actually that we started recently called Concept Capital. Now that is where I know people have complained government agencies are a little slow. So Concept Capital is a quick way for 25,000 of funding for companies, or very early stage, but this is a forgivable loan. So if you go out of business, you don't have to pay us back. But if you continue, then that's considered an investment. We also do follow-ons all the time. So we really want to encourage our investors to reapply, our companies to reapply maybe once they've hit another funding goal, a milestone. So we will continuously invest. We can start with Jean-Luc, we can even start earlier in the other programs and then follow on. So that's some new updates. Also, we have something called Back Office in a Box. We have IP and legal help now, and that's free for anyone, whether or not TEDCO has invested in you or not. The website is got so much information. So please study and look at all these programs, because one, TEDCO isn't just, we're not just there for the investment venture fund. We're there with grants. We're there with programs to help companies pitch. The Back Office in a Box is really helpful, because some entrepreneurs have great ideas, but maybe they're not the best at accounting and all of that. And we want you to succeed. So we're trying to remove those admin burdens and other things that early stage companies have to deal with, which can distract them from their goals. So other exciting news you probably saw. So in October, we had our expo, which was, I think, 1,200 people. It was a fantastic event. Many of you were there. Tian and the team had a booth. So we had a lot of exciting speakers. The governor came, and that's where we had a few new announcements. So one of them is TIDA. So that is an agreement between TEDCO and the Taiwanese government. So that's going to be a $50 million funding vehicle. However, that's not going into existing TEDCO funds. It's going to be a new fund vehicle. And that also is going to be for foreign direct investment and bringing those companies here, and vice versa. So for example, we've got companies, medical device, for example, that maybe want to be able to have entry into Asia. So we've got a partner there. But we are also talking to the Koreans. So KIVEC is another entity, and the KIVEC entity is going to focus on cyber, life science, and defense. And then we've got another one out of Korean called the K Unicorn Investment. And this is also going to be a co-investment vehicle, and they are a proper VC fund. And then finally, we've got the Kingdom of Jordan. So that entity is also going to be a international market expansion for our companies to go there, and for their companies also to come here. So it's very exciting that people think we're doing a pretty good job and they want to come here and work with TEDCO. So we're very proud of that. But we are going to continue our regular programs, and we are investing 12 months out of the year. We do have some exciting new investments. By the way, everyone's talking about AI. We've been in AI. So I feel like we were pre-curve. We actually were able to work with some Maryland companies and actually help them develop their AI products. So that would be Stand is one of our investments. We also used Omni. JP Morgan acquired them, and they were one of our first companies also using AI. So we've been using AI for several years. So we're excited about that. But we're going to do our first quantum investment. And by the way, if you didn't know, University of Maryland is better than Stanford and MIT. It is the head of quantum. It is the heart of quantum, and it's right here in Maryland, and at my undergrad university. So I'm very proud of that. But anyway, that's the TEDCO update, and my colleague will be here later today as well. So please catch up with us, and we're excited to announce these new programs. And please visit the website, because we've got new initiatives all the time, more so than even we can remember. We're a big entity, and we're doing a lot of good things for the community. So please, check out the website and come to our meetings, come to all of our free resources.
Thank you, Catherine. And our last speaker before our presentations is Chris Frew, who is the founder of BioBuzz. Many of you know BioBuzz is the leading media outlet for life sciences here in the region, and they certainly are, but they are much more than that. And Chris will tell us a little bit about what he's up to, the grant that you won, congratulations, as well as some research that you guys are conducting.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here today. Great speakers to kick things off, as always. I think that's one thing is clear as we start the morning off, is that ecosystem development and workforce development, it's a team sport. I think you saw this morning several of those teams that are building Maryland's ecosystem and our economies. So it's a pleasure to be here. Tian, thank you for all you do and your team. So my name is Chris Frew with BioBuzz. So BioBuzz, we focus on three things to be part of that team, one of those teams that supports the ecosystem. Storytelling, which we think is really important to get the message that all of you are doing and the startups are doing to a global audience. Community building. This is community building. What TN does, what the Maryland Tech Council does, we do. It's important. If we're going to build an ecosystem, we need people to want to be here, and I think that's a critical component. And lastly, it's workforce. Workforce underpins everything. Workforce and funding, I guess. So, but TN does the funding. We'll help with the workforce. Everything that these companies need to grow starts with really good people and good ideas. So those are the three things we focus on. So TN asked for a workforce update, and I'll try to provide a workforce update. Kelly mentioned headwinds. I don't need to go into detail. We know that there's been headwinds out there. But I'm also going to challenge some ideas this morning, just because I know we have a whole room of problem solvers. And as a kid, my parents always punished me with a writing assignment. I will not provoke my brothers. So I tend to still kind of embody that in my professional career. So so the state of the workforce. So we're all clear that government macroeconomic factors are really changing today's workforce more so than ever before. And then the AI factor you put in there. So that's nothing new to us. But it is reshaping the workforce how we know it. While later stage funding is coming back, early stage funding is still a major issue that's impacting our workforce everywhere. So again, groups like this are helping to support that. Maryland has lost more than 1,500, and this is part of some of the research we've been doing on our workforce, more than 1,500 private sector jobs in the past 16 months in life sciences. And that's really tough, because these are high paying jobs that are being lost. Now some of them are being regained, but that's just the loss factor. That's compounded by over 5,000 that have been lost from the health and human services. These are PhDs and public servants and people who thought that they were having 20-year careers that are now unemployed in Maryland. So this is part of where I bring that first challenge. So I think this is an opportunity. So what I want to challenge you is, this is a big workforce that is now looking for something to do. So as problem solvers in the audience today, what can you do with some of the smartest people in the world that are looking for work? So I know we hire internships, and Hopkins is a great place for that. I want to encourage people to think about this workforce. They will take jobs that aren't full-time jobs to come in and help your startups grow. So again, I want to challenge you to think about the workforce a little differently as you're growing your companies, and look at this pool of talent as future entrepreneurs that don't know they're entrepreneurs yet. They just need some guidance. Maybe think of it like an entrepreneurship apprenticeship program. So again, that's my first challenge today when around the workforce update. Think about that population differently, and to our economic developers, how can we support that population differently? So as companies are growing, the other thing that's changing in the workforce, startups are leaner. This is a challenge for the folks coming out of Hopkins, right? I know that. You thought you were going to have a career in research or public service, but you're those aren't always available right now. So when you're think about in your career, and you're thinking about as you're growing your company, think about this workforce differently. They are going to be leaner, but more fractional, more opportunities to hire people that aren't full-time. So that's another challenge I have for everybody today. So the areas of job growth, the stuff that Kelly's doing, TEDCO's doing, the state's doing is critically important. Where there's growth is more startups, right? We need more startups. So let's think about how we can escalate the number of new startups. With AI, smaller market companies are still attractive. So I think that's one area we can grow in. Biomanufacturing, another area. Maryland Tech Council was part of a consortium that we were part of for an EDA Tech Hub grant on biomaterials and biomanufacturing. That is a growth sector for Maryland. These are high-paying manufacturing, advanced manufacturing jobs. And we've won a couple, right? Syngene is hiring over 100 people next year. Bora Pharmaceuticals is investing in growth. So we have a couple of these wins, but we need more. We have a lot of manufacturing space that's vacant in Maryland that needs incentives for companies to build here. It's great to see big companies moving to Virginia and Pennsylvania, but we have the workforce here. We just need to bring the companies here in Maryland. So we think storytelling can help, and everything that you all are doing can help. We're very grateful for TEDCO. We are a partner with them. They've invested through a grant with us to launch the More Bio program, which is an opportunity built around our 3 pillars to support you all. So as we look into next year, BioBuzz is going to be focused on better storytelling to promote Maryland's innovation story, your innovation story to the world through greater storytelling, greater community, and greater workforce development. Again, with our partners such as Kelly and the Tech Council and the training programs they do. So with TEDCO's support, be ready for us to be reaching out to you to do more storytelling next year to, again, promote these lighthouse industries and the work that the startups are doing here. So again, as I step off the stage for these startups to come in, again, I just want to I hope that I've left you all with a couple ideas, a couple challenges to think about this morning on how you look at the workforce a little differently, and how maybe you can kind of leverage some of this assets that we have in Maryland to grow. So, Tian, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And Chris you have a research report coming out for the market here, right? In a few months? Or please.
Yeah. So we have a research report on the workforce coming out in a few months, and we're pushing for a January report on investment report. So our teams combed through not just PitchBook. We did a recent report in Philadelphia, and we uncovered a lot of interesting trends beyond what was out there in PitchBook and some of the other reports. So we were doing the same thing for Maryland. We're also focusing on the impact that grant funding is happening on later stage investments. So we're looking at things, things a little differently around investments. So, and we'll be working, and T and I partnered on the one in Philadelphia and are working together on the one in Maryland as well. So keep an eye on that. Come to biobuzz.io, make sure you subscribe, and we'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Okay, we have 9 awesome presenting companies. All of their executive summaries are in the program book, and these are spectacular companies, which hopefully you'll agree with us after you see them. To introduce our first 5 presenters, I'd like to bring up Sarah Clasper, who's an associate with Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. Next is one of the premier law firms in the country for early stage companies, for startups, and they have a very unique pricing model. So they have fixed price packages for different types of legal services that early stage companies are going to need, and they've won numerous awards around the country. Sarah, thank you for all of your support, and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Tien, Skylar, Remote, I'm sure she's watching in, Avery, Emily, and everyone else today for this wonderful event. We are very honored to be a longtime supporter of CONNECTpreneur, a leading global event that connects entrepreneurs, investors, and all other members of this great startup ecosystem. A quick word on Next. Next, powered by Schulman Rogers, is an innovative new model for the delivery of legal services. We help a company through their launch and through each stage of their growth, and we design our services to be from an entrepreneur's perspective. This means we offer predictable and reasonable legal fees, and we productize them into packages so that the customers and the clients know exactly what they're paying for from the beginning through the end of that project. Our clients will still work directly with seasoned attorneys through our hands-on legal services model, and we always work to integrate very robust technology so that the experience for the clients is collaborative, efficient, and transparent. This morning, the first company I have the honor of introducing is ClearSight. CEO Patrick Smalley has had a distinguished career in the life sciences sector and is a key figure in the eye care industry. He has over 20 years of commercial experience in market research, marketing, and sales with prior roles at successful life science companies. ClearSight Technologies is developing over-the-counter eye care products that combine artificial tears with an antimicrobial biopolymer, including the first over-the-counter treatments for pink eye, dry eye, and contact lens discomfort. Please welcome CEO Patrick Smalley.
All right, good morning. Let me make sure this works. There we go. Thank you very much for the introduction. At ClearSight, we're tackling eye care conditions that cause daily pain and discomfort for nearly a third of the US population. And that's 30 million sufferers of dry eye, 45 million contact lens wearers, and 10 million parents and patients deal with pink eye every year. Those three markets are spending over $5 billion annually to treat these conditions, giving ClearSight an obtainable market of over $1 billion annually. Now, we do this and we provide treatment and relief through a novel combination of a proven artificial tear and a powerful antimicrobial biopolymer that allows us to launch 3 products. Artificial tears will be first in class to target biofilm. Contact lens rewetting drops that will be the only drops on the market that can clean the lenses while the user's wearing them. And then the first and only over-the-counter pink eye treatment that's also antiviral. You may not know this, but up to 80% of pink eye infections every year are caused by virus, not bacteria, even though the standard of care is topical prescription antibiotics. Where are we in this process? Well, we've completed all of our preclinical data. We've started the development process, and a great thing is we can do one manufacturing process to launch 3 products. The first of which will be the artificial tears in Q3, Q4 of this coming year, followed 6 months later by the contact lens rewetting drops, followed 6 months later by the pink eye drops. And for the pink eye drops, we do intend to complete clinical trials this coming year in Q2, Q3. Each one of these launches will represent significant valuation milestones for ClearSight. Looking at the competitive landscape, on the dry eye side, there are some big players. It is a very competitive market. On the pink eye side, it is totally blue ocean. Only prescription antibiotics, and there are M&A activities going on in this space. As recently as 2023, B&L bought the Blink franchise from Johnson & Johnson Vision for over $110 million. Our go-to-market strategy will be very focused, B to B to C. On the dry eye and contact lens rewetting side, we're going to sell through ophthalmologists and optometrists. And on the pink eye drops, we'll partner B to B to C with retail pharmacies such as Walgreens, Walmart, etc. We have 3 significant accelerator partners, Health Wildcatters in Dallas, Texas, Mass Challenge in Boston, Massachusetts, and Capital Factory in Austin, Texas. We have 2 private label partners, which will allow us to generate revenue near term that we're able to reinvest into our branded portfolio. Our pediatric partner, Cartwheel, has access to 6,000 Walgreens stores, and we've signed an LOI with them for $21 million. We're working with an eye care partner to sign an LOI this coming quarter, and our branded partners will expect LOIs from them in Q1, Q2 of this coming year. Those partners will allow us to launch within 12 months, achieve break-even by year 3, and achieve over $100 million in revenue by 2032, because these are very, very large markets, so that's less than 5% penetration in each of those markets. We have a team of eye care experts that's unparalleled as far as expertise and experience, over 60 years combined experience, IPO experience, over $5 million in grant funding previously, and a best-in-class scientific advisory board. We've raised $250 in a pre-seed round. We have $4 million of grant funding pending, and we're raising a $1.5 million seed round to allow us to achieve $2.5 million of ARR by the end of 2027. A clear future is in sight, and now we're looking for the right partners to help us get there. Stop by our table for more information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Next today, we have Compact Medical. Founder John Merrill trained as an engineer at the University of Virginia and as a physician at Eastern Virginia Medical School. His experience in a pediatric ICU inspired him to invent what the company intends to be the safest manual resuscitator in the world. Compact Medical makes the FDA-cleared Butterfly BVM, the first bag valve mask that safely ventilates adults, children, and infants with a single device that will reduce injury from manual ventilation errors. Please welcome John Merrill, founder.
Hi, everybody. Morning. I would be willing to bet that every person here knows at least 14 people. And if that's true, then statistically speaking, you know someone, maybe somebody who you love, who will someday go into cardiac arrest. And when that happens, the only thing between life and death for that person will be high quality CPR. And yet we lose 80% of those who go into cardiac arrest. They don't survive CPR. And part of the reason for this is because lifesavers are still using bag valve mask technology that was originally invented in 1956. And the real problem, so this is the competitor's product. The real problem is that there's nothing that controls how much air the person gives. It's really easy to give too big of a breath or too frequent of a breath. Both of these things can actually pop a patient's lungs or restrict coronary artery blood flow, leading to death. Doesn't that bother you a little bit, to think that your loved one could be injured on the way to the hospital in the back of an ambulance by a piece of equipment that was originally designed to save their life? It bothers us, and that's why we made the Butterfly BVM. As mentioned, the Butterfly BVM is the first bag valve mask to be FDA cleared for any size of patient in a single product. So if I set this on infant, I'm getting a little baby breath. Teenager, adult, it adapts to any size of the patient. And once you've set the tidal volume on it, the biggest, burliest person on the back of that ambulance will not be able to give more air than what this has been set to give. It has led to up to an 87% reduction in human error during CPR. Now, as mentioned, I'm a UVA grad and biomed engineer and pediatrician. My coworker is a Purdue biomedical engineer. Natalie Christensen used to manage the finances of Medtronic before taking over at Compact Medical. We have deep regulatory, manufacturing, legal, and market expertise on our team. We are well aware of our competitors are doing, and trust me, they're well aware of what we are doing, and we're making them very nervous because the Butterfly BVM beats the competition hands down on features, and the new entrants that have come out the last few years are conveniently helping us to drive up and normalize a higher price point in this market. The global bag valve mask market is projected to reach $936 million by the year 2031. The US market today is about $220 million, and that's split between hospitals, ambulance services, and the military. We have partnered now with 3 world-class distributors here in the United States to go after the US market, and they have already placed orders for over 4,500 units. And we already, just last week, we cashed our first check for $150,000. Super exciting. I told my wife, sweetheart, look, it happened finally. So, here's the thing. If you've ever backed a medical device or medical product before, you know that clinicians are creatures of habit. We tend to like the things that we know and stick with them. I can tell you that that is not the case with the Butterfly BVM. Let me prove it to you. In the last 2 months, this is the traction we've seen. On September 16th, we sent out our first email announcing to our target market that we were FDA cleared. Within 4 minutes, we had our first customer on the wait list. And to join the wait list, you have to be a decision maker. You have to be a purchaser or a chief at your agency. So we had first one in 4 minutes. October 22nd, 24th, we went to an international conference where we handed out about 200 free samples of the device that went home to different agencies across the United States and the world. From that, last week, we had 215 agencies or hospitals on our wait list within the United States, 40 from outside the United States. And that 215 constitutes over 1% of the US pre-hospital bag valve mask market already in just 2 months. And by the way, this is dated. Just in the last weekend, we've picked up 23 more agencies or hospitals who want to switch to our product. These are revenue projections. Because of what I'm describing, you see, we are confident that we'll be able to hit this. If we can just hit our medium revenue projections, we believe by middle of 2028, we should be hitting about 18 million in revenue, which positions us well for exit. Speaking of exit, we have already had multiple conversations with every one of the companies that you see on this screen here. These discussions have included discussions about M&A. There are some very, very large companies in the space who are very interested in what we're doing at Compact Medical. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Next this morning, we have the Doppel. Lisa Marino developed Doppel after her own experience with welfare as a Stanford MBA, where she was inspired to build a solution to the chaos and complexity of fragmented financial funding for families. Lisa is well positioned to lead the Doppel as she has extensive M&A experience with over 20 acquisitions over 5 years. The Doppel is a one-stop funding and family care platform that helps parents activate their village by streamlining access to government, philanthropic, and personal support for their children. Please welcome Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the lovely introduction. My name is Lisa Marino, and let's see if I can make this work. There we go. Okay. So I'm Lisa Marino, founder and CEO of Doppel. We simplify family funding for every age and at every stage. Did you know that 2/3 of families live paycheck to paycheck, yet there's tens of billions of dollars in government, philanthropic, and friends and family money earmarked for these families that goes unused every single year? Doppel is the map that connects these families to their funding. Families enter the system via a community partner, then they build their budget. At that point, our AI takes over and we match them with the funding sources they're eligible for. So think government, friends and family, and instant philanthropic dollars. Families get what they need in the time that they need it. Our market is the family market, which Halogen Ventures estimates to be 7.5 trillion annually. Our TAM within our own sub-segment there is over $80 billion. And that's because of the unused funds from our funding sources. Doppel, with just 1 million families served in a single year, which is 3% of the market, becomes $1 billion company. Let's talk about monetization. So the average baby registry is a point-based solution. Same with the wedding registry, right? They're monetizing an event. We want to monetize the other 99% of family expenses that are not addressed. Most of these are recurring, and we do that by expanding sources of funding support for families. We make money today in 3 ways. One is donor fees, second is product sales, and then the last is advertising sponsorships and affiliate fees. Let's walk through a case study. So Susie's pregnant, and she enters Doppel from a New Jersey Medicaid doula. In this case, her registry has a value of $6,000 because $3,000 comes from her personal network, and then $3,000 gets matched by Doppel. At that point, her registry is driving $1,700 of net revenue to Doppel from our 3 funding sources: advertising, donor funds, and product sales. Families come back to Doppel because the matching dollars refresh every year. Let's talk about traction. So we're a real company. We did 1.8 million in revenue since the beginning of August of 2023. And we've got 4 pilots launching in the next couple of quarters. These prove that we can partner with community organizations that bring us families at scale and low cost. Our first pilot with Head Start started with 300 eligible families, and we've already signed up 180 of them, which demonstrate our ability to engage these families. We've got more data that's coming, which we're excited about through the end of the year with these Head Start families. And we'll be gathering information regarding transactions as well as matching dollars. In terms of profitability, Doppel hits profitability by the end of 2026, and by 2027, we're a great acquisition candidate. Revenue soars by 2030 to 140 million as we serve 140,000 families, which is just 0.4% of the market. CAC stays low because of our community partnerships, and we drive our profitability from $900 of net revenue per family that we serve on average. From a competitive perspective, we placed ourselves well in 3 areas. First is our user acquisition cost is very low because of our community partnerships. Second, because of our funding breadth, people come and use us over time. So we've got long-term relationships. Last, Doppel leads in tech and strategic value as it relates to our competitors. These create barriers to entry that no others can match. Last, from a management perspective, we've been together as a team for 13 years. We grew RockU from 15 to 150 million profitably, and we sold it. I sold my last company to McClatchy Media in January of 24, and they are the lead investors in both of our rounds. As a team, we are experts in product, e-commerce, and family management. And from the ask perspective, we've got 400K left in our round, and if you want to talk more about it, there's some very interesting structures that we want to offer.
Thank you, Lisa. Next today we have Genesis. CEO Joe Beggs leads fundraising and partnerships for Genesis. With 3 publications, 2 patents, a clinical trial, and a launch of a medical device, Joe is confidently leading Genesis towards commercial success. Genesis is developing MyoSponge, an implantable scaffold that regenerates skeletal muscle after traumatic loss. It is showing a 46% strength improvement in animal models, and it is targeting a first-in-class pre-market approval. Please welcome CEO Joe Beggs.
Ben Burr-Kirven has been playing sports since he was 2 years old. By age 24, he was living his dream, an NFL linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. Then, one wrong step, hyperextended his knee, severely stretching his nerves and tendons, which caused his muscle to waste away and turn into scar. After surgery, doctors told him that his foot would never move again. Quote, "My career, my plans, my life all ended in a split second," he said, "and I will never stop trying to get it back." Good morning. I'm Joe Beggs, the CEO at Genesis, where we regenerate muscle after trauma. Ben's story isn't rare. Oh, sorry. The slides didn't come through, but Ben's story isn't rare. Car crashes, gunshot wounds, and explosions on the battlefield all cause severe muscle loss, driving over $600 billion in annual medical costs and lost productivity in the US every year. This is what severe muscle loss looks like years later. Permanent, non-functional scar tissue in a void where there used to be muscle. What if instead of closing wounds with useless scar, we could instead restore real working muscle? Well, introducing MyoSponge, our patented implantable biomaterial that regenerates muscle after trauma. MyoSponge recreates the natural protein structure around muscle cells. So after and I'm sorry the animations aren't playing here, but after an injury, surgeons suture MyoSponge into the wound. Muscle stem cells from the surrounding tissue move in, they mature, and line up and merge together to form new muscle as MyoSponge seamlessly bioresorbs. In January, we started our first large animal study supported by an NSF SBIR grant. Our surgeon removed about 20% of the pig's muscle, so an injury size comparable to what we'd expect in people. These hogs are about 200 pounds. Then after a few months, we measured their strength. We implanted we clamped the knee, attached the foot to a foot plate, and electrically stimulate the regenerated muscle to get the maximum force. Pigs treated with MyoSponge were 46% stronger. Not only that, but MyoSponge increased muscle mass by 27% and muscle fiber area by 75%, as shown on the left, stained green. In a recent article published in Nature, the authors basically did the same experiment, except they used our competitors' products. Treated pigs did no better than untreated pigs, despite some of these products charging $15,000 to $20,000. That's not a therapy. That's a placebo with a price tag. So without a currently approved FDA-approved product for regenerating muscle, this creates a wide open market opportunity for us. Everything from hernia repair to trauma to open spine surgery, pelvic floor disorders, and so on. The market potential here is huge. I'm excited to lead this team as CEO with experience running a clinical trial, delivering a TEDx talk. I'm joined by the inventors of the technology, Gabe Haas and Dr. Coyle Garg, who's a world-renowned expert in the field of muscle regeneration, and our new employee, Deepa, who's a polymer chemist. With $872,000 of funding, we have validated MyoSponge in mouse, rat, and pig models of muscle trauma. We've completed over 200 customer interviews and through 2 rounds of the NSF I-Corps program, and we've exclusively licensed our patent and secured the patent from the USPTO. So we're now raising a $5 million seed round to prepare MyoSponge for our first clinical trial. Just last week, we welcomed our latest investor, and we've made it to the final round of review for our NSF Phase 2 SBIR. To project our exit opportunity, we look at 5 to 10x multiples on revenue, and we look at comparable acquisitions from the past few years, ranging from $250 million to $1.3 billion. Also, remember that NFL player from the beginning of the pitch? Well, Ben found Genesis, and he finally feels that he has a viable option for restoring his muscle. I'm very excited to announce that Ben even asked to be the first human recipient of MyoSponge, as shown in this letter of support from that NSF SBIR. But this isn't just about one athlete. It's about providing a real solution for anyone who's ever been told that lost muscle is lost forever. Ben found us, and you can too. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next this morning, we have Illinois Clean Fuels. Founder and CEO Stephen Johnson is an accomplished entrepreneur with a focus towards finance and commercial implementation of clean technologies, efficient infrastructure, and advanced clean energy systems. The company is providing next-generation disposal capacity for municipal solid waste generated by cities by converting it into jet fuel. I will let CEO and founder Stephen Johnson tell you more about it.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'd like to talk trash today. We're building a plant that converts municipal garbage and recovers energy, metals, glass, and plastic that are currently lost to landfilling and incineration. The need for this, as I'm sure you're all aware, is profound. The Northeast in particular has a municipal garbage disposal capacity crisis. The challenge really is one of population density. We all make trash, 5 pounds per person per day. And the closer people are together, the more difficult it is for disposal. You can't build a new landfill. You can't expand an existing landfill. The existing incinerators are 20 or 30 years old. They're aging out. And so far the solution has been simply put it on a truck or a train and send it further away to find somewhere willing to take it. For New York City, they're currently putting it on rail and sending it as far away as Indiana to find available landfill capacity. So that's driving up disposal costs at the street and becoming non-viable for communities. Out on Long Island, where we're focusing our first 2 projects, the disposal costs are escalating to the point where it's busting municipal budgets and really causing some serious problems. It's also a big climate issue. Fortunately, the technology to do something about this already exists. Europe is about 15 or 20 years ahead of the US in waste tech, and there are 8 countries in Western Europe that are currently zero waste to landfill. We're taking the best of class European technology, deploying it here in the US, and fundamentally rethinking the concept of disposal. So basically what we're building is, for lack of a better description, a trash refinery. It is a series of mechanical processes that dry out the waste so it's no longer sticky, process it using a combination of density separation, magnets, eddy currents, optical sortation using machine vision and AI to separate the materials out into various useful streams, and we're able to divert 90% of the materials away from disposal. We have a large pipeline of projects. There's tremendous demand for this throughout the Northeast, South Florida, Toronto, Canada, the West Coast. Our first 2 projects are out on Long Island, and we have LOIs in place with a couple of cities and downstream waste consumers, and all the engineers in place ready to start the process. These are sort of a beautifully boring business model.
So you contract with the city for 30 years for the waste volume at a fixed price. That locks in sort of a specific throughput and capacity. We're able to cover the full operating and capital costs of the facility from that contracted revenue, and then capture additional upside from the sale of the recovered energy and commodities. So our first two projects combined will be almost $100 million a year in revenue, and that goes for 30 years. So these are very, very good yield generating standalone assets. We've got sort of SEAL Team 6 of the garbage industry we've built up. The former CEO of Tunnel Hill Partners, which is the largest waste by rail operator in the US, John Lamanna. Mike Mucci used to run all of solid waste export for the Department of Sanitation in New York City. So we've really got a deeply experienced and connected team. We're currently raising $850,000 for the next critical phase of the engineering work on the project. I'm excited to say that we secured a term sheet from a lead investor for the primary construction finance on the project, and are very close to having a remaining piece in from venture, but we're trying to sort of pull some of that forward to do some of the critical engineering a little bit faster. So I've got a video in the back showing how all this works, and I'd love to talk to you on the break. Thanks so much.
Okay, to introduce our next four presenters is the unicorn herself, Debbie Klein, who is the co-founder and partner at Buzzy Rocket. And if you guys didn't see Buzzy Rocket's incredible masterclass last week, you can go on the CONNECTpreneur YouTube channel and download it. She and her partner, Victoria, did an amazing job on using AI for marketing. Highly recommend. Debbie's going to introduce our final four presenters. Come on up.
Yep, I'm good. Those long legs can pop me right up there. Thank you. Thanks, Tian, and to the entire CONNECTpreneur community, and for all of you for being here today. We were founded about 15 years ago. We work exclusively with startups. We've helped about 143 over the past years. We have a full team of developers, copywriters, all kinds of experts, but my business partner, Victoria, and I work directly with you in the trenches, and we only take on 6 clients. So, which makes it sound like you would be lucky to have us, and you would be, but we'd be thrilled to work with you too. It's my pleasure today to introduce John Valor, CEO and president of iLumen Scientific, retinal biotech company delivering innovation that changes lives. Today, over 200 million people in the world suffer from age-related macular degeneration, a debilitating disease that is the leading cause of blindness in those over 55. Today, there are no cure, no cleared, approved treatments. That's where iLumen comes in. iLumen's revolutionary non-invasive therapy was developed to change the lives of people living with this terrible disease. Please join me in welcoming John, who will share more about the iLumen mission, their continued path to success, and a projected exit in 2028.
Thank you. I'd like everybody to look to their left and then look to your right. 1 in 4 people will have dry AMD and lose their central field of vision. Now imagine you having to sit on the side to be able to see the screen out of your peripheral vision. That's what AMD is. iLumen's mission is improving visual acuity by using ocular stimulation therapy. It's a non-invasive microcurrent stimulation, and our focus is on those with dry, age-related macular degeneration. Our path is pretty clear. We're looking to create a strategic exit in the first half of 2028, and we're raising the funds to be able to complete our pivotal trial, which we will have the data in Q3 of 2027. Now, the market is huge, as you can see, both globally as well as domestically, and revenues are expected to be at $70 billion by 2029. What's interesting is most of the category is focused on just salvaging vision, not improving visual acuity, and that's where iLumen is focused. What's very interesting about this category is the tremendous focus. Earlier this year in September, Alcon acquired Lumathera, which is another energy-based therapeutic like ours. and they acquired that for $850 million. Unfortunately, Lumitheria is inferior to our technology. As you can see, we generated nearly a 10-letter or 2-line improvement in visual acuity after just 7 treatments or 3 months. Compared to the competition, hands down, we're the best. iLumen uses an office-based therapeutic that applies an electrode to the surface of the eyelid to deliver stimulation to the retinal cells. Now, we know that the dysfunction starts in the RPE, and unfortunately, it's due to depolarization, which leads to the accumulation of drusen, which pulls the retina away from the choroid vessel. So now that is not able to function properly. And so what we are doing is we are restoring that relationship between the retina and the choroid vessel. So by repolarizing the RPE cells, we are restoring photoreceptor cell function, which improves light processing and increases the visual signal strength, which improves visual acuity. Now, we've completed our eyesight study, and I just want to give you an idea here. What does a 10-letter improvement in visual acuity mean? In our study, patients could only read down through the line highlighted in purple. After receiving treatment, they could read down through the line highlighted in blue. And as you can see, we saw a 2-line or 10-letter improvement in visual acuity. And we maintained that all the way out through month 12, even though we discontinued treatment at month 2. We are now entering our US pivotal study, and that's what the funding will be used for as we go forward. We have a very broad and strong IP portfolio. We have a strong management team, and our board is made up of members from industry and ophthalmology. When you look at strategics, we've already initiated conversations with strategics such as J&J, Alcon, Bausch & Lomb, as well as Glaukos. What they've told us is we need to deliver 3 things. The eyesight 2 clinical data, month 3 data, a commercially ready device, and they want us to submit for market clearance with the FDA. Today we're raising $35 million at a price of $1.30 per share with a $70 million post-market valuation. We've already got $18 million in commitments from our existing investors, and we have a lead investor, which is BIOS Partners, and they are open to sharing with you the data that they've generated to evaluate our business. So this is really about the opportunity to invest in a pre-revenue company that has a pathway to acquisition. And that acquisition, that market bar has already been set by Alcon due to the acquisition of Lumitheria at $850 million, which would provide you with a return of 10 to 14x. Thank you, and I look forward to talking with you later today.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure to now introduce Dick Moberg, CEO of Moberg Analytics, a pioneering company at the forefront of advanced clinical intelligence for critical care. Dick is an exceptional leader who is well known for his lifetime of impressive work in neuroscience and neuromonitoring research. Beyond his scientific achievements, Dick's energy, curiosity, and commitment to making a difference set him apart. Moberg Analytics brings together decades of experience in multimodal neuromonitoring, cloud technology, and AI to elevate care for patients with acute brain injuries. Their innovations empower ICU teams with real-time insights, enabling smarter and faster clinical decisions that improve patient outcomes. Please join me in welcoming Dick, who will share more about how Moberg Analytics is revolutionizing patient care in neurocritical care units and beyond. Thank you.
Well, thank you. At my age, it's always nice to have somebody remind you what your name is and what you're supposed to talk about. So thank you very much. And I also want to say that, you know, I know there's a time limit here, but I'm going to zip through this really quick because not so much a time limit, but we're an AI company. And it would be really embarrassing if in the middle of my talk, the AI bubble popped. So I'm going to make sure that we get through this before. I have 4 minutes. All right. Okay. So this is our company. So this is my 3rd company, and it's my 4th medical device. This one is software that is going to enable early detection and intervention in critical care. And just on the right of the slide, that's a recap of our company. So we're already revenue generating in 3 of our trial sites. We have been awarded over $8 million in R&D funding from the Department of Defense and MTech. And let me give a shout out to MTech. They're wonderful. For the few of us in this room that don't have a trust fund from our parents, they're the next best source of funding. So I highly recommend them. All right, they've been great to us. So in terms of our fundraising, we're trying to raise $2 million in our seed round. We're already $600,000 there. We raised that as of last month. So let's get on to the problem. And one of these is the button. Let's see which one this is. All right, there we are. Cool. All right, so we're trying to tackle the data overload problem in critical care. And some of you are probably familiar with that. And it causes problems with delays in care, inconsistent care, and expensive care. All right, and so with our solution, our software solution, they're using it to do several things to cut into that. So our automated reporting system can now take the time it takes to digest that information and reduce it from hours, down to minutes, all right? So they can make decisions quicker. Our data-driven clinical pathways can actually improve outcomes. This is data here from a traumatic brain injury study where the outcomes actually improve from 9% up to 23% good outcomes. And since it's a software system, it can actually replace capital equipment, and it's a license fee, so it can lower the costs. So we're trying to get from the left side to the right side. We are enterprise analytics software. It's installed on the hospital network. Our first, we're making sales today for research and for non-regulated applications. Next year, we want to get through our regulatory clearances for other applications. We're focusing on the US and European clearance. And on the right, in 2 years, we want to introduce our capstone project, which is called the Critical Care Copilot. So it uses agentic AI, and it lets doctors and nurses have a conversation with the data. So they can ask the data, how is my patient doing? What's the status? How well did I manage the blood pressure over the last 12 hours? And questions like that. So that's where we're headed. We're a SaaS model. This is a pretty standard one. We think we can get a premium, the $1,000 there premium for neurocritical care ICUs when we're installed there because of the additional features we have. From that pricing model, we derive this market size. The top numbers, all of the ICUs, but the bottom circle there is our entry market, and that's neurocritical care. That's 11 million, and I know that market well. I spent the last 25 years in that market, and so our strategy is to land in that ICU and expand into other ICUs. And this is our competition. There's some heavy hitters there, but I think if we go in the door with neurocritical care and then expand, we can deal with that, and that's what's happening right now. We've been overwhelmed with the response. This is part of our pipeline. We're already installed in 3 of these. And some of these, like Yale, is building a brand new neuro ICU tower, and they just contracted with us on a pilot to see if they want to put our product in that entire tower in a year and a half. This is the team, and we have the team that is adequate for what we're doing today. We, of course, will need to expand that when we scale up. And then this is our seed round. We raised $600,000 out of a $2 million convertible note that we want to do, and that money will be used for expanding customer size, getting our recurring revenue up, for regulatory clearances, and for the development of this critical care copilot. Thank you very much.
It's a pretty impressive time to be alive, hearing all the different medical and other solutions we have today. I'm impressed about brains and eyes and trash and all kinds of other things. It's my pleasure now to introduce Doug Earle, a deep aviation expert and veteran with over 25 years in the Army, a week after Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. You're going to introduce us to Phoenix, a groundbreaking next generation AH-64 Apache flight simulator developed by DigiFlight. And they have an amazing team here today and lots of people to talk to you about this. DigiFlight is a global leader in attack helicopter training and currently supplies support to over 60 countries and holds over 60 government contracts. They offer a compact, transportable, mixed reality training platform that revolutionizes attack helicopter pilot training by delivering superior realism, scalability, and affordability. Please join me in welcoming Doug to share more about how Phoenix is set to capture significant market share globally and redefine the future of defense training.
Well, there's a lot of great presentations so far. Right one? Thank you. A lot of great presentations so far, so I'm going to have to start with a mic drop. I'm bringing the big guns. And it's not playing. Ah, well, we had a great video for you. Please, please join us at the table. That's right. That's right. Please see us at the table. Okay. Founded in 1999 as a veteran-owned small business, DigiFlight's not a startup. What we are is leaders in cybersecurity, information technology, aerospace, and training, particularly Apache helicopter training, where we touch every Apache helicopter pilot globally. I'm Fred, my colleague, or I'm Doug, my colleague Fred back there will be at the table. See, they threw me off with no video. We're here to present a potential $1 billion opportunity in cutting-edge next-generation flight simulation. Our intent is to completely upset the apple cart and disrupt the market. Simulators shouldn't be expensive. The whole point of simulations is offset training. A longbow crew trainer is roughly $40 million. We represent $5 million. We're about an 80% cost reduction. We're smaller, faster to market, and more efficient. We're here to leverage two distinct technologies today. One is artificial intelligence, and we're using that in two ways. Primarily AI code assist, so we can get our software into the simulation faster. Again, approximately 12 months quicker. And then a precedented DigiFlight product called AI Pilot Coach. Imagine having a pilot coach that can continuously monitor everything you're doing and provide instantaneous feedback during that training period. Second is mixed reality. Everybody understands the mixed reality market. Today it's at 53 billion. 10 years ago it was 700 million. It's set to eclipse 300 billion by 2035. We recognize a global market. There's approximately 18 countries currently that are operating over 1,200 Apache helicopters on 5 continents. We've targeted the next 8 countries that are due to either upgrade or purchase new equipment. We've showcased Phoenix, our prototype, several times, and then during those showcases at various trade conferences, the demand signal's been the same. Why haven't we seen this before? We want this. If they were ready, we'd buy 5 tomorrow. So we know we're on the right track. We're very excited about the financial outlook. It's a steady climb from year 2 and beyond. We look to supply the industry with about 150 to 185 units initially, and then we're going to represent a lateral shift and branch out into other platforms, both civilian and military, such as utility cargo, UAS, and eventually space. So far, DigiFlight has funded $1.2 million in prototyping and market. We're asking for an additional $8 million to build 2 production vehicles. Those vehicles will be used both for continuing evaluation and for full-time marketing. The $8 million represents approximate or non-recurring efforts in both hardware and software. Finally, in summation, I'm a 25-year instructor pilot for the United States Army. I'm what they call a graybeard. I'm aging out. The world's changing, so are the training techniques. My techniques are outdated, they're ineffective. It's time to embrace today's millennials with immersive and effective training. I thank you very much for your time. We'll be back at the table. We hope to see all of you.
Tian, we got to hook the video up next time. And for our last company that we'll be hearing from today on stage here, it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Iverson and Jackie Iverson, co-founders of Centum Pharmaceuticals. Okay. I was like, I think they're here somewhere. Thank you. Thank you. Jackie is a visionary pharmacist, research expert, and Memorial Sloan Kettering Fellow who serves as the Chief Clinical Officer. As CEO, Jim leads the company's strategic vision alongside an outstanding team with credentials from MIT, Harvard, Mayo Clinic, and other top institutions that have seen over $730 million in successful exits. Inflammation underlies 75% of modern disease. CENGIM is transforming systemic inflammation with first-in-class immunoregulators. By directly modulating the immune system rather than chasing symptoms, they're defining a new class of medicine that bridges prevention, longevity, and recovery. With 60 patents granted and pending, and a $217 billion addressable market across multiple therapeutic applications, they are poised for wild success. Please join me in welcoming Jackie and Jim to tell us more.
Hi, excuse me. Hello. Yes, we are CENGIM Pharmaceutical, and we are creating new innovative products to treat acute and chronic inflammation via the FDA regulatory route. We are targeting low-grade chronic inflammation so that we can end this sick care model. In the United States, people live 12 years longer in states of low-grade chronic inflammation or inflammatory-related disease. And this gap is particularly longer in the United States than any other country. And unfortunately, this is the sick care model where drug companies develop drugs with minimal efficacy or moderate efficacy, toxic side effects, extreme costs, and personal hardship. And they are not increasing our health span. And these drug companies are developing single-target anti-inflammatories that are used after tissue damage has already occurred and organ damage and disability. It's a reactive approach that causes immunosuppression. Our goal is to create immunomodulators that can act much earlier and can decrease the progression of the tissue damage. We do this by creating a platform of agents that are targeting this chronic inflammatory age-related diseases, and we do it by creating a platform of repurposed, radically safe 2 anti-inflammatories from the categories of nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories and mast cell modulators. Together, they create a synergy and can decrease inflammation and fibrosis. They can be used much earlier, and we can show that they can be approved by the FDA in both acute and chronic inflammation conditions. We take that engine and we review it for how we can use them even earlier and for multiple disease states so that we can start using them earlier and preventively to prevent fibrosis from ever occurring and keep your organs healthy. We treat multiple disease states using different assets and also different formulations. And we do this because we believe that inflammation is the silent epidemic that's overlooked with a huge total addressable market. And we plan to master each of these indications and therapeutic areas. And now, Jim Iverson.
Thank you. Our platform is made up of 11 therapeutic areas, and we're focused on, and within that we have 5 lead assets at or in phase 2. We've got distinguished partners such as Duke University, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, as well as KVK Tech. Our business model is focused on de-risking and creating defensible IP, which we'll use for commercialization. Our mission is clear and powerful. We want to address inflammation at the source, thereby focusing on making improvements and using evidence-based science and AI tools. Our team is made up of innovators who have exceeded $730 million in prior exits with areas of expertise in clinical, regulatory, immunology, and commercial. Currently, we're closing out $1 million of a $5 million round. Next year, we'll be doing a Reg A, which will be used to bring our 5 lead assets to the end of phase 2 and into commercialization. We believe this is a rare opportunity to create exceptional financial returns while driving exceptional global good. Thank you, and hope to talk to you at our table in the back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and Jackie. Now we have a investor panel, phenomenal group of supporters of us over the years, and their bios are all in the book. While we set up, I'd like to at least introduce them. We have our moderator, who is Professor Supriya Munshaw, who's the Associate Dean for Academic Programs here at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. And our four panelists are Jeff Cherry, who is the Managing General Partner of Conscious Venture Partners, Teddy Gresser, who is the Senior Director of Seed Funds for TEDCO, Deborah Hemingway, General Partner of Ekphora Capital, and Stuart Sutley, who's a partner at TCP Venture Capital. I'd like to invite the panelists to come up as we set up your stations.
Should we get started? All right. Well, good morning, everyone. As was said before, I'm Supriya Munshaw, Associate Dean for Academic Programs and Associate Professor of Practice at the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. And on behalf of the Business School, I'm delighted to welcome you all here to our panel on early stage investing. So we have an incredible group of investors this morning who sit at the front lines of turning ideas into companies, helping founders navigate crucial growth phases and really invest in the community. So we have, as Tian mentioned, Teddy Gresser, Senior Director of Seed Funds at TEDCO, who plays a vital role with Maryland's innovation pipeline and supporting founders here in Maryland. We have Jeff Cherry, Managing Partner at Conscious Venture Partners, bringing a mission-driven approach to investing, proving that purpose and profit can go together. Stuart Sutley, General Partner at TCP Venture Capital. TCP invests in companies based in Maryland and has helped shape the Mid-Atlantic venture landscape. And last but not least, Deborah Hemingway, General Partner at Extravaganza Capital, investing in deep tech and life sciences founders, translating into a business impact. So together we have many different perspectives, and I am very excited to moderate this panel. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a few individual questions, and maybe I'll start with you, Jeff, if that's okay. So how would you describe Conscious Venture Partners' approach to early stage investing, and how does the conscious capitalism shape how you invest?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Yes. It's nice to be here again. Thanks, Tien, for all you do for the community. And looks, it must not be that many founders here. Room cleared out when we came up. So normally the founders stick around when the investors come, but yeah, I never know. We think that there are really smart people everywhere. There's just not opportunity everywhere. So we try to do a better job of getting into those communities of founders that other people may be ignoring for all the wrong reasons, implicit or, unknown bias. The second part of our thesis is that we want to invest in ideas along the same lines that we think are breaking down barriers to access in some way. And that could be access to water, food, technology, medicine, you name it. So we want to invest in ideas and innovations that we think are making society more equitable. And then the third piece, as you talked about, is this idea of conscious or stakeholder capitalism. So I've had a long and sort of circuitous career. I'm an architect by training. I had an architectural firm. I actually did a lot of work on an AH-60 helicopter years ago at a management consulting company. So lots of different things. But as part of that, we saw the emergence of this idea of stakeholder or conscious capitalism. And essentially, what we found out was that we believe the winning businesses of the future are not going to be businesses that have a myopic focus on shareholders. Shareholders are a stakeholder. They're just not the only stakeholder. So the winning businesses or the best managed businesses actually understand how to create value for all of their stakeholders. So suppliers, employees, communities, customers, the environment, and shareholders. So our model is focused on, and we believe that there's actually a series of steps of things you can do inside the business business to build that into your DNA. We call it a multi-stakeholder operating system. So our model is not only to identify founders who believe that, but also because of our background and nearly 40 years now of helping founders get better at that, to train founders on how to do it. So that's sort of the essence of what we do.
That's great. Yeah, and that aligns with some of the things we teach at this business school. So that's that's wonderful. So Stuart, I'll move on to you. TCP obviously has been a long time investor in Baltimore-based companies. And Baltimore has seen some real momentum in the past few years, but still in a growing ecosystem, right? So what are you seeing in terms of quality and quantity of tech startups in this region? And how has the local investment landscape evolved?
Thanks, Priya. I think the key thing we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years has really been the companies that were not exposed to the kind of greater Baltimore area and didn't know how much talent there was to attract for startup companies. So when you look at the universities we have here, you look at a lot of the fact that we're located close to DC with a lot of defense contracting, cybersecurity. As TCP has had companies move to the Baltimore area for our funding, they become really pleasantly surprised at the pipeline of talent for filling jobs within those companies. That's been, I think, a really, excuse me, significant opportunity. What has started to develop in a good way, and I think we lost a little momentum during the pandemic, but it's coming back, is more access to different capital opportunities or more funds or more angels or more networks in the area. And that's starting to come back. So we are seeing more opportunities to go out. When TCP came into the market with the Propel Baltimore Fund, almost 12 years ago, we really started because there wasn't really anything after the Angels and Tedco until you got further down. There's a void, a missing point here. So we went very early with companies. A lot of times prior to having any revenue, maybe it was off a business plan, a great team. We have seen more capital now in this area, which is great. So it's opening up more opportunities. It's making it more competitive. And I think that there's a bright opportunity here as long as the region continues to embrace startup and we continue to attract more companies to this area.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you mentioned the academic institutions that are major employers in this area and all the talent that comes out of there too. Deborah, moving on to you. You invest in some of the scientific and technical founders, some of them who come out of these university labs, right? So what trends are you seeing in technology commercialization from academia or research settings?
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's great to be here. And I was delighted when Tien invited me to participate in this panel. And I was also glad that he gave me a couple months notice because 2 weeks ago, I was at the Wharton Summit with Tien, and Tien surprised me by placing me on a panel immediately. So thank you, Tien, for the invitation to be here. It's wonderful being here. In terms of what we're investing in and what we're seeing, we notice, well, we meaning me, I'm the founder and managing partner of X4 Capital. I noticed that in this area, there's so much medical innovation. I mean, we've seen it here today. It's coming out of our major institutions, and this whole region is just ripe in terms of innovation. We also have a brilliant workforce. Some of the smartest minds in the world are arguably right here in the region, not only the region, but even right here in Baltimore. And we're amazingly situated in terms of logistics and the access that we have here in the city. And we saw that missing piece. That missing piece is capital. And so we've been building out X4 Capital to fill that void. And so we're seeing this incredible innovation coming to market and being able to provide the financial resources that we need to spark this entire region. Because we see the financial capital as being the last piece that will spark this region and ultimately turn this region, especially in terms of medical innovation, turn it into the next global hub of medical commercialization. So that's what we see for the future. And the startups that we're looking for are making that impact, that world-changing impact that touches lives, not only here domestically, but across the globe.
Thank you. So Teddy, coming to you, TEDCO sits in a unique position here as we talk about funding and early stage funding and capital, both as an investor and an ecosystem builder. So what do you wish founders understood more about leveraging some of this non-dilutive funding and state resources before leveraging venture capital? So what's unique about TEDCO?
Yeah, excellent. First, thanks everybody for having me here and all, intros. But so, it's a good question. And I think initially, first two, I'd point out that I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think investors are a key piece of ecosystem builders, a really important part of that process. So, what do I wish that founders knew, though, about the state resources is, number one, what's available and how to engage. And first, just, engage with us early. And not just TEDCO, all of the other resources that, some of my other panelists here have mentioned others, but Maryland has a ton to help founders to extend runway, reduce dilution before you even start to raise venture capital. And you take advantage of these things. If you can come up with a great strategy, a great plan, and then execute it with the timing correctly, you can walk into your first conversations with VCs with actual data, with some traction, with interesting pilots or partnerships, or just something that is will lead to a very different conversation. First off, so I think number one, know that we're here and engage with us early, and then have it be part of your strategy, right? Let me to lean into that a little bit more. It's not just a transactional one-off. Here's a grant funding opportunity or an SBIR workshop. It's engage with us and have us be part of your partnership. Have us be partners and part of your strategy along the way. Because as we can build relationships, we don't even know what that turns into. The resources that we provide are not just capital. It's also introductions. It's networking and a lot deeper of a relationship than just the transactional nature of funding. So I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, thank you, Teddy. So now I'll pose a question to the entire panel, and maybe Teddy, you can get us started. What given the environment that we're in for startups, what does it take for a startup to really stand out to you?
And that's all. There's never a silver bullet.
Yes, of
right?
course.
So every startup is different and doing different things. But I think a common thread that is really easy to stand out is clarity, right? If you've got clarity and focus, and it's leading to leading to real traction, right? There's capital available in this market. It's out there. It's just disciplined, right? It's patient. It's waiting for. I should say the capital available is flowing towards teams that are demonstrating early proof, right? What is it? What is what are you hanging your hat on? And to stand out, it's the clarity. It's the let me say it a better way. So it's like the storytelling and the vision is very important, but in today's market, the data is going to come through even stronger.
Anyone else on the panel? Go ahead.
It's interesting because I think that, as Teddy says, every startup is different and every investor is different as well. We appreciate all those things that Teddy said, but usually we're usually one of the very earliest investors in the companies that we invest in. We're usually, if not the first, very near the first professional money in. So, as a couple of my friends like Bill and Tien know, I have a home up in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs. So I'm a degenerate horse gambler, and I always bet on jockeys. So we're betting a lot on the founders. What type of people are they? Can they execute? Because normally when we invest, we expect there's probably going to be a pivot or two before they get to product market fit, before they start to be able to gather all the data. We're trying to play, a little bit of that role in the ecosystem. So we're really focused on clarity of the idea, being able to tell the story. But we're looking for people, I've been doing this a long time. So we're looking for people that we believe can execute. and we believe that we want to be in business with for a long time. So I think that's sort of what, our perspective. We take all that other stuff into account as well, the data, and if the idea makes any sense, right? But having the, one of the things in the conscious capitalism world, one of our friends is Danny Meyer, who's a restaurateur in New York. And Danny talks about this idea of 51 percenters versus 49 percenters. And he says, if you're in a restaurant business in New York City, 49% of being good in that business is getting the right food to the right person, the right table, the right temperature, with the right drink at the right time. But if you're any good in that business, everyone can do that. 51% is how do they make you feel. So the ticket to the dance is a 49% for us. If you have an idea that we think is not going to work, then the discussion's over. But lots of people have great ideas. And then we're looking for what type of person are you? Can you execute? And are you someone we want to be in business with for the next 10, 12 years?
Thank you. Stuart?
Yeah,
I think a little bit of both. These jobs we said hit on a thing that I think is really important, and that's being realistic. I can't tell you how many plans I've seen over the year where, we get a plan and it says, we're going to do $15 million worth of business next year with Johns Hopkins. Oh, that's great. How far along are you? Oh, I got an email from them yesterday. It can happen. So many of these plans come with really lofty expectations. Of course, we want to see, excitement, passion. But being realistic with the numbers, when you see numbers that just, aren't going to materialize, it's really kind of a first sign that they really haven't thought through the opportunity in the market. And the second area where you see a lot of this, it's wonderful, wonderful, smart people, good leaders, they don't know the competitive landscape. So many times we start to dig into the competition and you can tell that it's just kind of a light understanding of truly the competitors. Well, we're better. We have better customer service. Who cares? You got to be able to prove it. So I would say, again, being realistic with your numbers. Much easier to work with a group that's realistic and knows this is going to take a while than overblowing the expectations and, again, know the competition.
All right, and we are looking for spectacular. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the absolute best standout CEOs that we can find. We're looking for CEOs who we wholeheartedly believe in and want to get behind and are excited to get behind. We're looking for founders who have the grit and tenacity and we are looking for spectacular. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the absolute best standout CEOs that we can find. We're looking for CEOs who we wholeheartedly believe in and want to get behind and are excited to get behind. We're looking for founders who have the grit and tenacity and who we know will stay with this when it gets hard, because every CEO in this room knows about the dark times. We know about the hard times and about how down you can be. And so will this person, one, do they have the drive and the foundation to lead? Then will they stick through it through the hard times? And then also, will they be able to rally and build a phenomenal world-class team around them? And will they maintain a company culture that is robust, that is kind, that is a very strong company and healthy company culture? And then when you have that leader, and you have that leader who's leading a company with a strong foundation, that's a winning success. And whenever we're looking at the foundation for the companies, we're looking at, first and foremost, what is that product market fit? What is the change they're making in the world? How badly do people want it? Once you've identified that, do you have the technical means to be able to solve that problem? Do you have protection around yourself? And then finally, are we aligned on what the exit strategy is? Because if us as a VC firm, if we're pushing our founders to exit in 3 to 5 years, but they're on a 10-year timeline, there's going to be conflict there. So are we aligned in what the expectations are in terms of exit and in terms of return? So those are the first things that we look at. And we also, whenever we get a deck from founders, it's not a secret as to what the foundation is to make a strong company. And so the very first thing we do is we run it through our favorite AI agent, and we ask it, hey, is this company any good? And that's our first pass. And what that does is that flags anything that we need to talk to, and then we go in, of course, and do our deep dive. So for founders here, I encourage you to ask, your favorite robot if your deck is any good, but also, talk to your team and see what holes are you missing. What holes are you missing not only in the foundation of your company, but is there anything that you can do as a leader to strengthen your team, to build up the endurance to last and to respond to the feedback in the market?
Thank you. So at least 2 out of the 4 of you mentioned how important it is to have a strong founder and a strong team, or a founder who can recruit a strong team, right? You don't have too much of interaction when you're looking at a startup and deciding to invest with a founder. You have substantial interactions, but you don't know them well. So what are some things in your limited interactions that convince you that this is a founder worth investing? Like, what are some things that they do, or how do they behave that say, all right, this is a founder that is worth investing in? And conversely, what are some red flags?
Yeah, so first and foremost, what's important for us is that they're very kind. And that's my firm's culture, and that's the that's the founders that we want to invest in, and that's the investors we like to bring on board as well. Not all VCs strive to have a kind vibe, but that's what we strive to have at my firm. And so, it's finding the right fit. All of my founders, you guys are seeking to find that right product market fit, and you also need to be seeking to find the right investors to come on your team as well, and even whether to bring on investment, because investment dollars are not suitable for all companies. So the first thing that we're looking for is that kind and that good cultural fit within my firm.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You could probably tell from what we've all said some of the answer to this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're very similar, right? We're looking for how the founders interact with each other and how they interact with us. So do we believe they're going to be coachable? If we have 2 founders and they're talking over each other, that's one thing that will get me to hang up the phone really quickly, because it drives me absolutely crazy. So how are they treating each other? Because that shows me how they are going to treat their team. So it's really important. I always tell people, this idea of being realistic is so, so important. When we see founders and they give us projections, I always tell them, there's one thing I know 100% absolutely for sure about your projections. They're wrong. I know that for certain because they're projections. So what I'm looking for more is, how do you think? Right? How did you come up with those projections? What are the assumptions that you're making? And do those things make sense? I already know they're wrong. I just want to know how you think. So this idea of being realistic, being kind, being the type of people we want to be in business with, that's sort of really high on our list.
Yeah. Stuart, do you have any?
Yeah, I think since you asked about red flags, the 2 that come to mind is, one, don't like to take advice.
Yes.
So they've kind of got it all figured out already. And, a lot of us here, I've started 2 companies myself. I've slept
multiple nights thinking about payroll, and when you try to have those conversations and they just kind of glass over or look at you like, you don't really understand where I'm coming from, that's one red flag. The other is, what do they have faked in for their salaries and, those on their team? Everybody, I realize, has got to pay the bills, but we see some that come in with very high initial salaries, and that shows that this is like a lifestyle culting. Are you really, pressing yourself? Are you really going to have that desire to wake up, every single morning and make this thing come true without a little pain? So those are 2 red flags that we see often in these different presentations.
Mm-hmm.
And to jump in and go off of that, we look for what the founders are trying to optimize in the negotiations. Are they looking out for their own salary? Or are they looking out for other things that impact the long-term growth of the company? And so we want to see them, optimizing long-term performance and thinking strategically about how to set the company up in the best possible way for long-term success.
Teddy, you have anything to add
absolutely.
to that?
It's like yes, and yes, agree. But to try to add something new to the conversation also, I would say it really stands out when founders, if you know your customer better than everybody else in the room, than anybody in any conversation, your customer, your market in and out. That's maybe table stakes, but it stands out, right? Because it's really one of the most important things. And I think, stemming from that, it's, demonstrating some ability to execute and do it quickly. What can you show? What can you demonstrate that proves that you can get things done quickly with limited resources early on and get to the next step, the next level. And then from a red flag standpoint, I guess it would really just be the opposite, right? It's some of these overconfidence and a lot of other things that folks have pointed out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spirit, I just want to say something for the founders in the room, particularly about the salary issue. I agree with those. If someone comes in and says, we're raising our first round, I'm going to pay myself $400,000, that's obviously a red flag. But I also, for what we do, particularly when we're working with underrepresented founders, we also understand that you do have to pay the bills. And we want to look out for those founders and make sure that, hey, are you going to have enough money, enough capital, enough the wherewithal to really get this thing off the ground? It doesn't, you can't, it can't be absorbent, but you also have to pay yourself, right? So I think it's a really important balance that we always have to, all of us are always dealing with, that difference between how much is too much and how much is enough. So we think about that a lot.
Yeah, it's you don't want to pay yourself too little that you're going to lose interest in the company, but not too much that's where all the money is going. So, and I guess the one other thing I would add is just responsiveness of the founder in general, and again, openness to feedback. Right. This is great. Thank you. I will open it up to questions in the audience because we're already running late. So, anybody have questions? I can always ask more questions, but yes, go ahead.
As a founder, question for you, Jeff. I think you spoke that you may have mentioned. I've actually had VC in the past that I think projections are too high. I don't get out of bed till so there's a minimum threshold. I'm worried if there's, as a founder, if there's AI tools that are just kicking you out in less than 100 days, so they don't get that second level where you can explain the context around the model, explain your assumptions, walk through the model, which you obviously can't do in that first pass. And is that a risk that founders run, being too conservative, if they just initially get
Thanks for the question. I think that one of the things that we haven't said, I think we've said implied, but it's really important. If someone says that to you, they're probably not the right investor for you. It's okay, right? I shared a deck from one of our companies, our portfolio companies, with another investor I really, really appreciate, I really trust. And he said, it's too expensive for us. We're seed deals, 22 million pre-money or low, so we can get the ownership we want. So I told the founder, he said, we're not too expensive. I'm like, you are too expensive for him. It just means he's not the right investor for you, right? So everyone's not going to say yes. In fact, a lot of you guys, I use this because I know the number. We have a friend who's here in Baltimore who has a venture fund, and he raised his last fund, and it was $10 million. He had 900 meetings. You're going to get more no's than you get yeses. So that's too low conservative for me? Thanks. Fast no's are fantastic, right? Give me a fast no, give me a fast yes. Don't give me a long maybe. So too rich, too conservative? Thanks a lot. On to the next thing, my opinion.
Yeah, I think one other thing to add to that is just because it's under the banner of BC doesn't mean we all have the same parameters. I think that's what Jeff, what you're saying. For Propel Baltimore, because we've got a mission too of having companies headquartered in this region, we'll go a little lower to try to get good companies here, but their roots in the Baltimore City, for example. Where again, another BC firm, we all might be BC, but they're further upstream. The other thing to do is, if you're looking at some of these BCs, is call a couple of the companies they've already invested in. Ask those CEOs or founders, their experience. I don't see enough of that. We recommend that all the time. Call our founders, ask them the questions that you want to really learn kind of off the record. Where is that sweet spot? And that might help you realize whether or not it's going to be a fast yes or no. Jeff.
Because we do it, right? I've talked to, today, last week, right. I talked to Chris. We do it all the time. Hey, you're thinking about, what do you know about so-and-so? So you should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, and we built out something we call a MedTech map. It's medtechmap.com, and we put our co-investors on the map so that we can direct founders to earlier companies, to earlier investors who are investing in that stage of company, or if they're beyond what we could do, we send them later streams. So it's finding where you are at any particular given time, and then who's the best fit for you at that time.
Yeah, I think too, just add one other thing, because there's another little thread in that question about, the fear of getting screened out by AI tools, right? I mean, yeah. So to tug on that one a little bit, what I think Deborah also provided maybe an answer for that one too, is that you should use the tools, right? If, there's a risk of, as we go through and use tools again and again, things start to sound alike. But in terms of helping you to research to find which investors are investing in your space at your company stage of development, things like that, it can be really helpful.
Hi, my name is Juan Fernandez. I'm the founder of a startup company called Smartiva. It's a medical device company. We're based off here in Maryland, and you can't help but to think, what am I missing from going to Boston or going to Silicon Valley? But I want to, and we've talked about it during the day, but I would like to hear from you, from the investor point of view, what is it that makes you as a founder want to stay here in Maryland or the DMV area?
Hey, look, Boston is overcrowded, it's overpriced, it's oversaturated, it's overvalued. Look, the momentum is not in Boston.
Are you talking about the Red Sox?
I could be. Yeah.
Definitely not talking about my Mets, that's for sure.
All right. Look, so what I'm saying is, if you want to skate to where the puck is going, right? If you want to go where the momentum is going, if you want to look to the future, you're looking here. You're looking to Baltimore. Because this is where the excitement is. This is where the momentum is rising. We've heard it today, about not only all the investors here on the panel, but all the other players in the ecosystem who are, look, I'm looking at Chris Frew. He's standing up right in the back. Look, these power players who are bringing together just the community. And so the momentum's here, it's rising here. So I say specifically Baltimore is the right place to be, especially in terms of medtech.
I would add to that too. I think for you as a founder, it's okay if you want to go and approach investors in those communities. But if you want to stay here, you probably have a rationale for the reason you want to be here. And that rationale is part of what's going to make you successful. Overpriced, overcrowded. I mean, there's a reason why I'm here and not in New York City, or I'm here not in Philadelphia, or I'm here and not in San Francisco, right? All the assets we have here, if those assets aren't adding to your potential success, then maybe you shouldn't be here. But the story you're hearing today is there's a ton of assets. There's talent. There's academia. There's the infrastructure is you can hop on a train. You can go to one of the best airports in the country, if maybe not the world. You can be in New York City and Washington, D.C. and all up and down the East Coast in no time. There's a lot of benefit to that, right? And the cost of living, right? You can attract talent because of the cost of living. So you got to be able to articulate that as a reason you want to be here to all of your investors, wherever they come from.
Yeah, I think just to add to one last observation, I suppose, right, would be that what I heard in that question too was really just the attractive thing about Boston is FOMO. FOMO is not a reason. That's not a good business strategy, right? So when we're talking about here is the fear of missing out for somebody who may. But so it sounded like, hey, there's there's all this going on over here. Well, what are you doing? Right, and so here's asset-rich area right here, and that would be a better way to plan your business strategy, in my opinion.
One last question. Yes.
Hello, Jesse Fox, Next Gen Tech Solutions. Mainly directed towards Teddy, but all of the panelists have founding experience. At what point would you stop pursuing dilutive or non-dilutive funding and transfer over to eventual VC fund or pre-seed dilutive funding?
Yeah, when there's the reason to. You'll pursue dilutive funding. I would encourage that. It's excellent. It's validating for your technology. It is, non-dilutive in nature. There's a million reasons why it's a great idea, and there are only a very few reasons why venture capital makes sense. And so once you can check those boxes, that's how you know it's time. And usually it's the idea of protecting IP, fast scaling and growth, and development that you're not going to be able to find funding for. Like your business has needs that other investors or funding vehicles that doesn't fit because of maybe it's, for a lot of other reasons.
Anybody else want to add to that? All right. I think
Thanks for the question.
We can wrap up then unless there's any other. All right. Thank you all for attending. Thank you to the panelists for their great insights.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Thanks, Professor, Teddy, Jeff, Stu, and Deborah. Thank you so much for joining. Please stick around. I'm sure a lot of people want to talk to you guys. And again, our presenting companies have tables in the back, so please feel free to talk to them. I want to thank MTech again, Commander Steele. They are moving here to Maryland, which is great news. And we will see you in Tyson's Corner on December 16th. Thank you, guys.